That is possible for the original mind, having originality of the mind. Let us forget about locating the original mind. That is your responsibility. But let us reflect on the originality of the mind. Originality meaning that flexible. It is originality meaning having that element of originalness of the child. The little baby was so flexible. Whatever is given, if you give Tamil sounds, it will reproduce Tamil sounds. If it is given Malayalam sounds, it will reproduce Malayalam sounds. If it is given music, it will reproduce music. So immensely flexible. So it originates in them. Like the other day I asked, and when Veena asked the question back. So that is the originality of the mind. That means having little bit of properties of that original mind is called originality of the mind. So the flexibility is there. When one drop is given, it will go on for some time in its ripples. The fallen stone is only, or fallen drop is only one. So there should be only one ripple, full stop. But because of the immense flexibility of liquid, so our mind should be like that liquid. That's what Arunada is actually implying. That is the interpretation. Our mind should be like liquid.
2045.
That is your ultimate achievement. That was indicated in that Zen parable. This is your child. Is that so? Give it to me. No. This is not your child. Is that so? Take it back. That is the critical aspect. Not so-called detachment or Zen mind and all that. That monk is ultimately sensitive to the implications of being what you call a victim of a conspiracy or a false information. Perhaps in the lonely nights he must have cried. Who knows? So your
Sir,
greatest,
one
the
question there, sir, if you don't mind.
greatest purpose of you is to achieve that water-like flexibility. And that's very critical. You can see an entire philosophy called Tao, T-A-O, Tao. Tao is, let us say, in one word, nothing but flexibility. You can write the word Tao equal to flexibility. That's all. And in fact, most of the writers, especially well-known writers, there is a greatly known interpreter, very important, greatly known, globally known interpreter of Tao. His name is Alan Watts. His one book is very famous, Tao, the Watercourse. So the Taoic mind, or what we call the original mind, is like water. It is so immensely flexible. Like Ashwati pointed out, it can receive colors from another angle. Water will penetrate through any creek and corner. Look at the world if there is no water. All kinds of dirt, it can be dissolved in water or with the help of water. Water is one of the elements, one of the bhutas, one of the elements by which entire, and at least existence in this planet has been designed and set and processed. Almost 90% of our body is liquid. That is one of the linkages of Gayatri Mantra. That's why it is done. It's always chanted, ideally standing in a river. Their existence is straightly seen as the flow of the river. And taking a few drops of that river and offering it to the sun and putting it back into the river. Every entity is that drop of water taken out of the ever-flowing existence and exposed for some time to the energy of the sun and goes back to the river. That is the core of Gayatri Mantra. And many more can be reinterpreted and interpreted. Yeah, Ganesh said something in between. Did you?
Yes, sir. It was just the point around detachment and fluidity that you were making.
Yeah, do it.
I just wanted to ask, with fluidity, detachment will invariably go, right? As in, you will be detached if you are fluid. If
Oh,
you are not,
definitely,
if you are not, it is impossible to be detached.
definitely, definitely, definitely. That's why Tao, Ganesh. So Tao says you ultimately achieve
Yes, sir.
only that flow, that's all. Everything will automatically happen. Detachment and enlightenment will automatically ensue.
Yeah.
Flow is everywhere. The blood is flowing. Hormones are flowing. The neuronal fiber excitations are flowing through the nerve fibers. Thoughts are flowing inside the very entity itself. In that ever-flowing thought, human beings work a lot hard to be stationed in some captured jails of thoughts, self-imposed jails of thoughts. People are scared, perhaps. When you become that much flowing, don't worry, you will not forget what you know. In perfect flow, you can sit in the office and manage a corporation. No doubt about that. But unfortunately, I would say rather unfortunately, the protagonists of these wonderful possibilities of human evolution, they all are a poor model for the world. I would say poor model. This I will tell them directly. In the sense that because they assume a certain position, certain posture, certain dress, certain social position, etc., the non-conscious perception of the audience secretly conclude that all this can be possible for him, not for me. These gurus do not tell the people that being completely detached, you can still run your corporation. How can they say? When they say that, the audience will have an unasked question. You seem to be dressed in so-called kavi and basmam and sitting on a big pedestal and you only talk about detachment. And none of us seem to talk about that. I used to tell Professor Veena might know, we want genius in genes. But definitely there is a problem of the perception of the normal distribution, like Anuradha pointed out. If you are in your genes and even if you talk the greatest ideas that can liberate the person, they may not register it because they expect this kind of ideas to come from Jesus or Buddha or Krishna or Vivekananda or somebody like that. That's the problem. If something is good, Amitabh Bachchan has to certify that. And even these people, including Chinmayanandan and all those people, in order to establish a point, they repeatedly say, Krishna says so, Bhagavad Gita says so. And they often make a big presentation out of quoting the so-called Sanskrit slokas. So that implies in the non-conscious perception of the audience that you have to be a very different person, then only you can be like this. You have to understand the so-called Sanskrits and all those things, and there is definitely a division happening. All right. One more unique interpretation for the day. Ultimate, that you have not come. Once again, I told you what is the preferred destination of your discussion or interpretation and reinterpretation of this diagram. I know that's a very unique question, but reinterpret that question whichever way and provide some responses.
The black kernel is about the unknown factor of the mind, the unknown darkness. We do not know what it is. Yet the white shows that we think we know what it is because of our thought process and the familiarity with the thoughts. We are somehow able to connect the thoughts to the mind, but it's an uncharted territory, unknown territory.
Yeah.
So it's
But
black.
rather, whether what I said is what, or you see, there is a beauty, there is a remarkable beauty or symbolic accuracy in this diagram, like somewhat connected to what Veena pointed out. The entire space is darkness, and in that, it is drops of light that is falling and spreading light. It is just the beginning. It may get completely enlightened within a short time. That happened precisely because of the conversion of that diagram by Ashwini. Because this can be shown only drops of water falling can be differentiated only if it is in white because everything else is dark. So this is quite symbolic of a unique kind of input required for enlightenment or lighting of the whole terrain of darkness.
Sir,
Hmm. Yeah.
looking at the picture, it I read about this falling drop, water droplets images. It mentions about the high definition camera and that moment that it has captured a falling drop and just bouncing it back and the reflection all together in perfect situation. So that seems that um, it requires a lot of attention. It requires a calm mind to observe these ripples, to observe the light, to observe these water drops in reality.
Oh, it's okay, beautiful Nitya. But I wonder why Nitya did not notice a much more critical interpretation hiding in what she said already.
Master,
Yeah. Can you, I
if
mean,
I can,
if I can say what
if I
that,
if I can add to what Neeti said, uh, this session is the high definition technology by which we are able to see the
all right,
drops falling.
that I'm very sure, of course, no doubt. I'm very sure
Without which the common people can't see.
I'm very clear and absolutely certain that nobody in the world can do a session like this. There may be somebody who may be giving much more elaborate talk on Upanishads or Vedas or Tao or Zen or enlightenment. I am not doing that. I am preparing your engines of the mind and intellect and basically to do all those discoveries, to create your own Vedas and Upanishads and Gita. Of course. But what Nitya did not say, that is also very critical. Not what she said at the end of it, but what she began. If you remember, okay, because Nitya began by saying that it is a high definition camera and that person who with that accuracy and the patience to precisely shoot this point, right? That's what Nitya pointed out.
Yes. And
That is available for a great interpretation. What do you? This is again something very important, my dear friends. Like Ashwati did a what you call conversion into black and white, and Nitya said something on the way of her, she identified an idea. And when in the process of revealing that idea, she mentioned something much more greater, let us say so, than the final idea which she said.
Hmm. Yes, she went and looked up on the capturing of that. So she has researched and read on it.
No, that is
Has done her own search.
about what she did. That is not the thing. No. You have to interpret what she said. Little bit of order. I want the interpretation of that. With that, the session is, or this diagram is closed. I want
The power of attention. The camera is like the attention.
Okay. Of course, point number one. It's only one part. Of course.
So it's like,
Of course, point number two. Point number three.
so you need to wait for that gap,
Exactly.
the exact point.
Exactly. So, power of attention, a high definition attention, sensitivity, and like Nitya also pointed out that fact, that patience, that uh, gentle, innocent patience. A lot of people are patient because they want to get the result, so they pretend patience. Mafalishu kadachana kind of innocent patience. Then only that moment of satori will happen. Then only that ever-present possibility of that moment in every one of you will be experienced. Now we are after all discussing all these things in language, my dear friends, which which I can do it, therefore I am doing it. The purpose is, of course, right now, as I told you, you are on the runway. Purpose is when you start to take off, you have to do a whole lot of things. And this is the ultimate thing, which may happen tomorrow or day after tomorrow, next year, later, whatever. Meenakshi was from the very beginning, she came interacting with me asking for enlightenment some 5 years back. And I have told her in very, very, very strong terms, stop this obsession. Still, after some time, she will again continue. Recently, I sent her a final message. Just don't ask about this. Forget this. But be aware of that. That's all. You cannot ask for it. Like Nitya said, you cannot ask for the water drops to wait there so that you click your camera. No. Like a great National Geographic photographer or a Discovery photographer, you have to wander through the heavy forest within you, or the darkness of the situation which you want to understand. Precisely looking for that precise shot of a picture. Yes, I told you one day back, this is precisely mentioned. I told you this is the last interpretation we will try now. There is many more. Anyway, we have covered the great range, ultimate range. Now we are talking about the ultimate of interpretation. In this context, I told you something which mentioned in a Zen treatise. Satori is like, I don't remember exact details. Anyway, the disciple is waiting to see the running horse on the other side of the wall. He has only a pinhole to look through, and he is going on looking in through that to see the running horse, passing horse. And in that book it says, and his eyes blink precisely when the horse is passing. And it's a kind of a warning. That means that without blinking, patiently waiting, don't get loaded by this perception. So simple, as I told you, just like that. These are the factors about it. And all these factors must ensure you one concrete perception that originality of you, that original state of you, that which is quite in consonance with the origin of the universe, is all the time there with you. You are an original piece of this universe. It is not a philosophy, it is a 100% fact. You are an original piece of this very universe. Universe also do not think they are the galaxies and all that. Just forget about that. You are a piece made of the 5 elements of this nature process. Every moment you exist by the food you eat and the air you intake. Your every cell is produced by the nature process. What more evidence is required to feel convinced deeply forever that you are a 100% expression of this nature process, which you do not feel because you are familiar with this body from the very beginning in a very ordinary way. But of course, this can be told only after you reach a certain level of conceptual clarity. But by that time, you are already taken this entire universe of your body, your phenomena for granted. It's very difficult to have a relook at this. As I told you, you could not make many interpretations on that diagram yesterday because it's a very familiar diagram. A drop falling and creating ripple. Therefore, it took some time to get into the details. And even when you were able to have attention to the details, you could not make interpretations of the details you observed because it is familiar. And if that is very familiar, you, the you in you, yourself, your whatever you think of you, whatever you know about you, whatever you feel about you, what so-called know about you, they are all taken for granted for so many decades from the very beginning of your sensitivities. So the ultimate detachment is not from somebody else. It is a nonsense. Ultimate detachment is required from your own entity. You have to become a passive observer. That's the only strategy. You have to look at the very you as a separate entity. You should be wondering about you secretly, but of course, do not talk about this to anybody. When the rishis say Aham Brahmasmi or I am Atma Brahma, that you are Brahma, in order to see that you have to just stay back and look at you. Being contained inside, you cannot look at it. The system cannot identify itself. That's why I told you that every day when you go to sleep, try to project for some time to see the very you lying down on the bed. Try that. That's all initial some exercises kind of a thing to separate your attention, to take your attention bottled inside, to outside of it, so that you get a moment of training. The moment you get detached from your entity, that's all, you will see exactly the horse that is passing by. That is why, the food you give to you is taken as a prasadam to the deity. They also mention this. Rigveda talks about this, but they don't talk so precisely. I don't know why. Because people may not understand this or people may mistake it. When they worship the format of Shiva or Parvati or whoever, that's only one of the samples of human entities. You too is precisely as valid as a sample as that of Shiva or Krishna or whoever. Whosoever. Let them come and tell you no to what I said. What is so bloody special about the body of Shiva, the body of Rama, body of Krishna, body of whoever, body of Patanjali, body of Vyasa, body of anybody? And then they talk about some unique spirit in their body. What bloody bullshit spirit Shiva has or Krishna has other than other human beings? I want to meet those buggers who wrote this nonsense in the book. Oh, no doubt. Sociology of religion clearly explains that all these deities and even the concept of God has been created by people with vested interests centuries back. That's all. But you should not be a blind victim, a dark victim of all those ridiculous nonsense about bloody God or deities, okay? Have the guts to say you are the God, or you are also, at least you are also a piece of the God. Not to anybody else, but to your own self. And again, you won't be able to do that because there's a lot of ridiculous criminal bullshit stories about the gods doing so-called miracles, so-called wonders. What bloody miracle they talk about? That is why they are gods. Okay, you don't want to be a god doing miracles. What about a little god? Oh, you want to be the greatest number one god only. In that large array of gods, starting from the superhuman, super entity god to Mahavishnu, the avatars and the Ramas and the Krishnas and all that, at least at one point of time, a little god that you is, why not? A small particle god. Have the confidence, okay, I am quite enough, that's enough for me. I am a poor little guy, I am quite happy with this, okay? All this humanity, they are when they are so incompetent and so unethical and so you can see the normal distribution in the newspapers. And at the same time, they want to be in contact with the supermost God only. This way, one day you also should talk to the audience. Much more than this. Somebody has to do it. But of course, it won't work. But do what you believe. Do what you have understood as the truth. Satyameva Jayade. Talk the truth. So there are certain ideas, definitely, like that picture shows. That's what you have to discover. Some of them we may also discuss. that will enlighten you, that will put light on the entire phenomena of you. And when you see your entire phenomena, you will realize that you are nothing but the universe itself. That's that's a needless statement. You are that. You are the very part of the universe. That's all. Then you become invincible. Then you will know that I told you it's a feeling. It's a unique feeling. That's all. And with that feeling, with the awareness of the possibility of that feeling, continue to do what you do. Continue to do your wood cutting, or in your office or in your domain of activities. But belong to this perspective. You have to be the water drops for the darkness of the world. Oh, world meaning, as I told you, definitely world meaning the people you come across. The people whom you lead, who manages are there. The people whom you address, the people whom you relate with. Think about that. You become that lighted drop. Your communication becomes that lighted drops into the darkness of the minds of other people. For which, first you have to create that flexibility in them. Or you have to wait for that moment of flexibility available in that person. For example, yesterday, one of the guys from this village who belongs to so-called respected family of Gounders. He's about 42 years old, married with 2 children. He is somehow fascinated with me. For the first time, he came here about 2 years back. Then he came here yesterday. And came around 7 o'clock and 7:30 or so. And he was continuously talking to me. He is definitely a unique person about whom I have told Meenakshi. Meenakshi must have seen him. He has been going to the nearby mountainous forest, grazing the cows from the age of 12. That is only a factor about him. But anyway, he does not have the ability to conceptualize his experience and tell me. In fact, I did an interview on him. But he had nothing to say about his unique experiences. Anyway, yesterday's talk, I am talking this in the context of waiting for that gap, another interpretation of what Nitya pointed out. Waiting for that gap in the continuous dialogues or continuous activities, or that we're talking about that trainer's mindset, that guru's mindset, if you want to create a change. So he was going on telling me, even Mandra used to tell me every time he comes, he goes on talking to you only. He talks a lot. I also listen to that because I can understand a little bit of Tamil more. So towards the end of it, he told me, about nature. He would talk definitely because he has been exposed to mountainous forests. Then he said, on some other side of this mountain range, there's a unique community of tribal people, and they are this, they are that, and there's a beautiful place like the lap of a mountain, and we will go there and stay there one day and come back. And I said, first of all, I cannot come, etc., etc. Then I asked, okay, how far the jeep can go? He said, of course, till about 5 kilometers. And I said, okay, that's all right. And again, he was insisting, one day we will go, one day we will go. It is a unique experience. That's what he was going on telling. I listened to all that and finally asked him, "Have you gone there?" He said, "Yes, 3 times." So you experienced that, right? Yeah, I experienced that. I asked, who experienced that? I experienced that. You have gone to some other places? Yes. Who experienced that? I experienced that. Then I told him suddenly, first you try to experience that I which is experiencing all these things. Suddenly he became speechless. I don't remember, not this is the exact way, I just changed my volume. Till then I was a very passive listener. I raised my voice a little bit and I talked very firmly. Like, try to know that first, then talk to me, something like that. He was completely taken aback. He became completely silent and he changed his posture, everything. And I'm sure there will be a lot of things happening to him. So wait for that gap. There will come a precise moment of every falling stone where you can enter a more drop of light. See, what is that situation I used? Do not wait for a classical moment of somebody coming and asking you what is enlightenment. No. Do not, Meenakshi is having that idea. No. You can do a little bit of light, drop of light for at any moment on anything also. Of course, Meenakshi is doing that also. But don't wait for a position that you will only train people in enlightenment. No. That gap will be there. I will tell you another remarkable moment. I have only remarkable moments, of course, in my life. This something happened when I was at Ernakulam. So I had a bullet motorcycle. Of course, I was staying alone. Most of the days I used to go for second shows. So one day I went out to see the second show. It was Kavita Theatre. I don't know how many of you know. It is in a major MG Road, Ernakulam, Kavita Theatre. So as I was about to reach Kavita Theatre, drizzling started. You know, in Kerala state, drizzling means it is not like in Tamil Nadu, really powerful water drops. So as I was about to enter the main gate, just as I waited, the main gate was opened by the security guards, and people were rushing out because it was almost about to rain. People were rushing out, and along with the cars and other vehicles also coming through them. So because the cars were also pressing horns and lights, and so people were sort of congested coming on either side of the gate. So I was on the extreme left side of the gate, trying to enter, and I could not enter. So I parked the bullet. I did not turn off the engine. So putting one leg down, I am just waiting there. I cannot proceed because people, continuous flow of people. And then I saw one guy, one tall guy. He was pushed by some other people. Anyway, he came and his back hit on the mirror of the handle. And it was a reasonably good hit because the mirror itself got turned. Apparently, somebody pushed him. He belonged to a group of 5, 6, 7 people, and they were all kind of gundas. That you will know later. So he had some. I heard them talking. It was almost raining. I heard him talking something and shouting at somebody. And by that time, that person pushed him. It seems. And anyway, he came and hit on this glass. This glass is slightly in angle, and the glass got tenderly turned. So that means the hit must have been little strong. Immediately, he turned to me and uttered a loud "Terry," an abusive word. And he held on to the handle and said, I am telling that I hit him. And he is putting the other hand and pressing there. What the hell? You don't know, driving a bloody bullet and a big guy. Itra Vaisai, how old you are, and you are so careless and hitting me. Oh, and all kinds of dialogues. And 2, 3 security guards, they are looking at me, and from their look, I realized that this guy is somebody. He was very tall also. Shirt buttons are open, at least about 6 feet 2 inches, and wide chest. And he's holding the handle like, I just cannot take the bike. Engine is still running. And he's holding on. And the drizzling was continuing slightly only, but not entering into huge rain. Then he said, give me 10,000 rupees. Because I have to go to the hospital tomorrow. I said, who comes here to see a second show with the 10,000 rupees in the hand? I don't have even 500 rupees. Don't talk any bloody damn thing. I want 10,000 rupees, if possible, right now. Or you keep the bike here. Keep it locked, and tomorrow you come and give me the keys. I will not take it. Then I saw that on the other side of the gate, there was a shop selling cigarettes, etc. 2, 3, 4, 5 people were taking cigarettes, and they were calling him Vada Vada. Then I realized that they 5 also belong to this group. Then he said, okay, you know who I am? If I decide, I know all the doctors, all the police people here in this town. If I go and ask a doctor to give me a certificate that my hand is broken, he will give me, and you will have to pay 1 lakh. All these dialogues are going on. You can imagine, continuous dialogue. And still his hand is on the... Then I just turned off the engine. So I took a cigarette packet. It was India Kings. It is the best brand of cigarettes available. Then I lit that cigarette and I looked at him. He said, take the money. Then I just looked at him. I asked him, what is your name? He said, Kunyaman. Vinayalal, are you listening? Kunyaman.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Then what I told is, like what Nitya said, or what Anuradha said, or what Aswati did. My instant dialogue was, Kunyaman. മലയാളത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞ അതല്ലല്ലോ നിന്റെ പേര്. In English, that is not your name. Then what happened next was a miracle. He just released his hand and walked backwards. And then he stood there, bowed his body and folded his hands like this and asked me, for standing there, Sir, എൻ്റെ പേര് കുഞ്ഞു എന്നല്ലെന്ന് എങ്ങനെ അറിയാം? He asked me, how do you know that my name is not Kunjuman? And with folded hands, he came to me and said, sorry, sir. എൻ്റെ കഥ ഞാൻ പറയാം. എൻ്റെ ശരിക്കുള്ള പേര് അരിസ്റ്റോട്ടൽ എന്നാണ്. എനിക്കറിയില്ല എൻ്റെ അച്ഛൻ എനിക്ക് എന്തിനാണ് അങ്ങനെ ഒരു പേരിട്ടത്. നല്ല ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ പോയറ്റിക് ലാംഗ്വേജിൽ അവൻ സംസാരിക്കുക. ഞാൻ 7ാം ക്ലാസ്, I talk first in Malayalam, okay, in English. When I was in class 7, the history teacher came to the class and he asked, you idiot, who put you the name of Aristotle? Do you know who is Aristotle? A great philosopher. You are a damn idiot fool. Sir, that was my last day in the school. So do you know, I read India Today. I have read a lot of books. And he said, India Today, the standard of India Today is gone. 3 years back, it was in good standard. And so we talked for about 1 hour standing there. He said, sir, my house is at Muattuvid or somewhere like that. I am here. I am working in this fish market in Ernakulam. That's a well-known place. That's why I asked Vinayla whether he is here. I am in the fish market, sir. I am the number 1 rowdy here. You go and ask the market, anybody, Kunjuman or you. You know Kunjuman. They will all look at you with respect. Sir, how much money you want right now? He just put his hand inside his pocket of the pants and took a bundle of notes.
21:30.
So I said, Vinay, even now, if you happen to go to Ernakulam Fish Market, that is on the side of the, what you call, other sea road side, enter the fish market, you ask somebody. This is about almost now 18 years, 20 years, but ask them, some senior people. കുഞ്ഞുമോൻ ആളിവിടെ ഉണ്ടോ അല്ലെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നോ? Ask them, okay? കുഞ്ഞുമെന്ന് പറയുള്ളൂ കേട്ടോ. And he told me, sir, nobody knows here that my name is Aristotle. I came all the way from that place to this place to escape from the burden of that name. I know who is Aristotle. Sir, do you know, sir, who is Aristotle? Yeah, I said, I have heard about him. Sir, he was the greatest philosopher of the West. So when you are unique, when you are in unique path of your journey, I told you. Brother, I told you this. When you are unique, your path will be inevitably unique. It is very likely that almost anybody you may come across is also likely to be unique because you are traveling in a unique road. So that's okay. That's a point which you will all get convinced later. But what I'm telling is, what I did, till then I was a little bit carried away. Then he was very sure that he would take at least, he asked me for the key. That was his decision, of course, that he would do. He was rowdy. Then when I become so-called free, when the flow of the entity is allowed, then this is the way you respond. That's all, finished. Be free. That's what Ganesh also said. You have to be totally detached, but still there. This is what I told you. At the peak of testing at Walar Junction, Amaya had to come back. Tamil Nadu police, then the health department people, 2-3 stalls are there to put the whatever in the nose, whatever. Then the military, armed military. Not only I brought Amaya, he had a whole lot of luggage. Obviously he was coming from, if he was alone, okay, it's okay. He was coming after his 3-month stay. I talked to the police, I talked to the military, and I brought him. No testing, nothing. No e-pass, nothing. Nobody asked anything. When you become in tune with your original, then actually you are getting into tune with the world. The world meaning your operating world, my dear friends. There's a stupid but very celebrated statement by Paulo Coelho. Alchemy. When you have a desire, the entire bloody universe will conspire. Nonsense. It will happen, of course, but to a highly tuned person. And it is not entire universe will conspire. What do you mean by entire universe? That's only a sellable statement. Your world, the policeman, the armed military force, the health department. That was my world at that point of time. That's what I told you. Your world is wherever you are moving, wherever you are at ongoing time. Right now, your world is in that room where you are sitting, and your laptop and what you are hearing. Oh, forget about the world. That is the referent reality of you. Is it clear now? Yeah. Like the referent reality of your laptop is that your hands touch them. So you too is a referent of this universe. And your referent reality is that which is correctly linkaged to physical contact or psychological contact or intellectual contact or spiritual contact. Be there. That's why I said, do not take your familiar things for granted. Your room is your referent reality. Your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your wife, your children, your things, that is your referent reality. That is your referent reality. Not even a half-broken pencil should be treated with disrespect. For the simple reason that the hand of the greatest entity in the world has touched it. An ordinary pen used by Mahatma Gandhi is kept in the ashram. Somebody offered some millions of pounds because it was touched by the hands of the Mahatma. Your pen is touched by the Mahatma of the you. Mahatmanas of you does not depend upon 1,000 people calling you Mahatma. Like I tell people, the God is a God not because millions of people worship. The rose is a rose, not because poets write poetry about them. Have this unshakable confidence in you. It should not be corrupted by, like Aniratha said, other available mindsets of logic and rational and whatsoever shall not disturb this discovery of you. This is your secret agreement with you, my dear friends. Do not talk about this virtually to anybody. I talk this to you. I do not even talk to people. Meenakshi knows where I am living, with what kind of people I am for the last 10 years. Nobody even knows my full name. I tell this to you people because I want you to be above that. I want every one of you to be doing wonders which even I was not able to do. So do your magic in your world. Be responsive to your world, which can include anybody who is coming to you, which is wherever you is at a given point of time. When I met Kunjumohan, that was my world. I want the cooperation of that world. That was my referent reality. One strong guy, one rowdy is holding on to the handle of my bike and not even once he released the hand. Just like the hold of an iron hand. Instead of my giving him money, he offered me money. He gave his telephone number. I did not have a phone at that time, and I repeated in my mind and I forgot it. He told me, in fact, anytime you come and call me, I will be there in fish market or somebody. You ask anybody in the fish market, they will tell you where I am or when I am. So, let every dialogue of you, when it is required as a part of the requirement of your world, let your dialogues be light. It should be the reverse, like somebody, I think Ganeshaman only mentioned the reverse flow of that. You should be the water flow. You should be the lighted water body. And from out of you, lighted drops should go out to the recipient, to the other part. The reverse flow. So, when a situation comes, there should be that genuine ripples, genuine reflection of what is to be given out. Like Anuragha pointed out, each ripple giving the next ripple. So it should be well reflected. Practice in that reflection, that reflected response to the environment. Now we will postpone Veena's presentation to the next Wednesday because having reached this kind of a level, we may not have time, or we will do, perhaps we will begin. Now, something connected to this is actually Parvathy's presentation. Would you like to do that? Or will you do that, or I will do that? I mean, the presentation part, you will put it on the laptop and you do?
Yeah,
But I think you removed that empty slide, right?
it was actually not empty. I think it was a compatibility issue with your devices, my device and your device.
Oh, I see.
Of course, it was a very brief slide, and I had written down in papers, and then the final thing was on the slide. And
All right, okay, whatever it is, I think most of the ideas in your slide can go correlated with the discussions we had on this mind. Because incidentally, the discussions on this slide of Ashwati have gone to a very great height. Veena's in a very different dimension. So that may not correlate with this. That is like after chemistry, there's a next hour is literature like that. There's a totally different paradigm. So, but as I remember, Parvathy's slide contained ideas which can be correlated with what we have been discussing. So why not? Is it possible?
yes, possible.
Yeah, find out.